You guys are not going to believe this. You're not going to believe it. I'm waiting for more guys to get back. So, would you believe? No, not fat fingers. It was not fat fingers. First thing that happened was I got a message that the connection was unstable. And something like, we're pausing your live because the connection is unstable. So I said, okay. I just waited. And then the next thing that happened is it said, we've detected music that you don't have the copyright to. We are terminating your live and deleting the video. I am not happy. Okay. Should we get back to the microscope? Sorry about this. I'm going to try to be very careful about the phone here. I'm not making this up. All right. So there's your PFG Stones. Welcome aboard. Thanks, guys. Sorry about the interruption in service. Yeah, I know. Okay, we're going back to the microscope. All right. So, when we last met our heroes, we jammed a 120-degree conical diamond into our metal, and we measured how deep it goes. That's an oversimplification, by the way. There's actually 2 phases to that measurement. So once you do that, you erupt this crater, and when you use the PFG stones, it takes the burr down, and that's exactly what you're seeing. I just moved it from one to the other here. So there's one of the craters. There's the other one. And if I tip this just a little bit, you can see how shiny the area that the PFG stones treated around the hardness testing eruption, right? The crater. And that is what a PFG stone does. So if I zoom back out and focus, okay, now you can see it in context. You can see the grinding grain here. And if you look really close, you can sort of see a streak. There's a streak there. There must have been something going on, but the PFG stones showed that. I don't know why we didn't do this before. This is fantastic. But there you go. So that is what harden. I don't know how many power that is. It would be hard to calculate. We're going through so many optical systems here. But those dots in the middle are probably, oh gosh, maybe 3 to 5 thousandths across, maybe. So it's having trouble focusing now for some reason. So is that not the neatest thing you ever saw? And this is the setup, right? We just have, hang on. Go back to the camera here. We just have the block sitting here, and we have a ring light, and that's it. And when I say that we use the PFG stones on this block, we take the 2 stones and we condition them against each other. And then we just bring the block in, make sure there's no grid on it, and we'll just do that. Now I'm pushing down like 5 pounds. This is not like a little bit. This is lots of pressure, and there you go. And then we put that under the microscope, and I'm going to go back to the adapter. And that's what you see. And again, I'll zoom in. Pretty cool. Well, there you go. So now, oh, this is very interesting. You see that there's a dark ring around the crater? That's material that the PFG stone removed from the high spot. So you have several things to look at here. You've got the shiny spot, which is what the PFG stone polished up. But all the material that it removed to make that polished spot is the dark stuff that's around it. So when you use PFG stones, not only do you look for the shiny spots, you look for the dark stuff because that's material that is being removed. No, that is not stone. That is metal. Now I'm going to take my fingy here and I'm going to wipe it. Okay, ready? So just remember that picture. Now there's that picture. It's gone. Is that not slick or what? So that's what PFG stones do. And let's see, we have a question. Can you feel it rock? You mean when you put it on the stone? Oh, I couldn't feel anything. That was a very, very tiny burr. So, and frankly, I wasn't looking for it, but you could feel in the stones. You can feel amazing. You could feel amazing defects there's just no other way to feel it. It's the sensory feedback when you use the stones is incredible. That was fun. Was that fun? I think we learned something. I think we all learned something. Okay. So we're back here. I got to clean up my bench. I didn't know we were going to have company. So kind of like using a check coat in automotive bodywork. Fad Radcator said a mouthful. You're absolutely right. So I believe, and you could forgive me if I'm wrong, I worked with a guy who worked on gliders. I used to fly gliders, and he did work on fiberglass work and other types of work. But really, that was his strength, was fiberglass work. And he would put body filler on a surface, and then he would sand, and then he would put body filler on the surface in a different color, and then he would sand, and he could start to see what's going on because of the change of color. And I think that's what you're talking about. Spencer Tool and Grind, welcome aboard. So if you're just joining us, we found ourselves remanded to the lab because everybody wanted to see our hardness testing dots. And I think we learned more than we possibly could have. Thank you, Fad Radcator, for confirming that I was not being a bozo on that explanation. So that was a lot of fun. Let's go back downstairs and go back to the shop. I'm going to turn the camera around. Mostly because everything in this lab is proprietary. And we'll go back to the shop. Well, that was a lot of fun. And now we can plan on more visits to the microscope. The nice thing is I'm able to walk away from the grinder and have it finish a job, and I don't have to worry about it because it's doing the right thing. I was never able to do that before. Okay. I'm going to put you back on your stand. I didn't drop anything. That's good. Well, that was more fun than should be legal. I'm just going to take a quick peek at my blocks, and I'll be right back. Cold mill welding, welcome. Oh, and we have a question to answer. This is a great question. I love it. All right, all my blocks cleaned up, and that's what I wanted. Mr. Blodgett asks, when quenching A2, how do you get it out of the pouches quickly? This is an outstanding question because I don't think I did a super good job last night. Let me grab one of the pouches out of the trash and show you what it looks like. So this is the remains of a stainless steel pouch that I was using to cook the A2 steel. So the way it works is you take your work and you put it in a pouch and you fold up the rim and you get it. It's a Ziploc stainless pouch by PFG. No, I will leave this job to others. By the way, this stuff is still very crinkly and stiff. When you work with this stuff, it is just evil. Very prone to getting your fingers cut. I did not do a good job on this one. The blocks did not come out shiny. They came out gray. But it's still, everything's getting ground, so it doesn't matter. So when you pull the block out, I used a tongs to pull the red hot block out and get it onto my, no, I didn't use Kevlar gloves. I just used leather welding gloves. And I get it onto my little rack. And then I hold it and I go in there with my snips, my big, the big snips. And I try to get the top cut off. And then I try to shake the bag out onto the, yeah, I did put a combustible in there with them, and I have to tell you, I think this was a mistake. Mostly because I put a strip of paper, and I think it was too much. So I wasn't happy with that, because I think when it burned, I think the resulting gas took up too much volume, and the bag puffed up, and I didn't like that. So if I had to do it again, I would not have put a combustible in there. In fact, I have an opinion about that now, which I will share with you. Anyway, it's not easy, and when you, I had 3 bags in the oven. That's one of the problems. So I had to not only pull the bag out and get my blocks out so they could sit on the cooling rack, but I had to do that 3 times. It's not the end of the world. I mean, it's not going as fast as you think, but yeah, you kind of want to get it all to happen pretty quick. So these are the gloves I was wearing. They're Radnor gloves from welding. These are dedicated to the heat treating oven. This is the little rack I built yesterday. I took a roasting rack, which you might recognize, and I just put a piece of hardware cloth on it, and I stitched it with MIG wire. So that's my little mini cooling rack, and that worked out extraordinarily well. And that's the gloves. And what I wanted to show you is if you look inside the bag, you'll notice that the thank you very much. I get that a lot. You'll notice that it discolored. So what you have to know about these bags that I think nobody tends to talk about is that the stainless, this is something I discovered a while ago, the stainless steel that they use for wrapping the parts is designed to oxidize on the inside surface. In fact, the steel is, I can't remember the alloy. I can't see it from here. But it's a particular alloy of stainless that wants to oxidize at high temperatures. And that is what scavenges up the oxygen in the bag. You do not need the little combustible thing. I did it yesterday. I wish I didn't do it. It didn't help. It kind of wasn't a good thing. So I think I've reaffirmed my opinion that nothing goes in the bag. Nice clean part. They were washed and dried, super clean. I would put those into your bag, do a very good job of sealing the bag. These are pre-made envelopes. So these are laser welded on 3 edges. So you just have one opening. And then you roll up that opening. I would do a really good job on that with pliers, 3 folds, 1, 2, 3, pinching it every time with pliers, and that's my procedure now. No more messing around with stuff in the bag. How does it know inside versus out? Is one side different finish? So I'm using the pre-made bags, so inside and outside are obvious. There's no inside or outside. It's not like one side has a special coating. It's the alloy of stainless that is used in the bag that is scavenging the oxygen. So when they come out, look at the outside of the bag. Look at the outside. Do you think that had a reaction, an oxidation reaction? I think so. You want to see what it looks like when it's brand new? Hang on. So this is the brand. Of course, it's backwards, right? This is called Valpak, V-A-L-P-A-K, and it's made in Massachusetts, an hour from here. Okay, Valpak, and 3 out of 4 of the edges are laser welded, and then one side is open. And they make these in different sizes. But the thing that it has in common with regular old stainless steel wrap, let me get my roll of stainless, hang on. This is a truly ancient roll of stainless steel wrap. Okay. That's what it looks like. There's no difference between the sides. And I think this was me messing around with the fold. But this is I can't remember where it says it. This brand name, which may be defunct because this is a very, very old box, is Ticronic, T-I-C-R-O-N-I-C, Ticronic, tool steel for foil wrap, tool steel foil wrap for scale-free heat treating. And this was made or sold by Shop Aid in Woburn, Mass. Again, about 40 minutes from here. And the piece of technology that I don't think anybody ever talks about, that I've heard, is that fact that we just discussed, that the whole idea is that the stainless scavenges the oxygen by nature of its alloy. So there you go. They go in like that, they come out like that. Okay. So good question. Excellent question. You guys are awesome. What else what other questions can you conjure up today? It is interesting, Warren. The whole heat treating thing is really kind of cool. And the fact that, I have this slide rule here, that box of foil So I got that box of foil when I bought that Blue M oven. And that box of foil also came with this slippy slidey calculator. And it says right here, for A2 tool steel, it says you preheat to 1450, hardening temperature 1700 to 1800, quench media is air, and then at the end it says as quenched hardness is 63 to 65, Rockwell C 63 to 65, and then if you go down here it says if you temper it at various temperatures you get different hardnesses. I tempered at 400, it says 60 to 62. And what did we measure? 61. So the moral of the story is, if you follow the process and your procedures are good, right? You have good temperature control, you have good long soak times, you basically get the recipe and follow the recipe, you get the numbers that they say you're going to get. Rockwell 61. Did you see the Barzy twin oven? Yes. So I saw that there's a video waiting for me to sit in my chair and watch in the living room. And I think Stan just released a thing on the twin oven. I came this close to buying the twin oven from him, and it wasn't available when I bought this one. So I ended up with a single oven. Then I went to buy a second oven, and he said, hey, I might have a deal for you. Scratch and dent, blah, blah, blah. And then we both sort of dropped the ball. And then pretty soon after that, he announced this partnership. So I still have one Hotshot 360. If anybody knows where there's another Hotshot 360 that somebody wants to get rid of, let me know. I wouldn't mind having two. I like having identical, stuff. But the Blue M oven did its job last night. So yeah, I'm pretty excited I'm very excited for Stan and his deal with American Rotary. A question just popped in. Any thoughts on converting a 110 volt kiln to 220 volts? My Paragon is way too slow. The nice thing about 220 volts is that the current goes down. If it was designed to in the right way, I'll say right way, okay, you may be able to take elements which are in parallel and put them in series. That's all you have to do. Okay. Let's see. Do I believe that? Yes, I believe that. So if you go into the schematic for the kiln and find elements in parallel, like pairs of parallel elements, and you turn those into series elements, you're ready for 220. That's all it takes. But if you don't find that, it could be complicated. And by the way, you're asking the least qualified person, would you need a different relay? As long as the relay is rated, no, because the current's going down, so you'd have to check the voltage rating of the relay, which should be printed on the relay. So if the relay says it's a 450 volt relay, you're done. And I'm speaking authoritatively. But the guy you want to ask these questions of is Stan Zinkowski at Barzy, because he's designed and built high power, heating chambers like many times. So he'd be a really good guy to ask. But you're asking basic Ohm's law questions, so I feel comfortable answering. Oh, double pole, double throw instead of a single. I'm going to defer on that because it depends. If it's like the power input from the mains, then you might have to go double throw. But if it's internal, you might not have to. Stan Z for Zinkowski. But if you go to Bar Z Industrial, B-A-R-Z Industrial, Bar Z Industrial, you'll find him. Tell him I sent you. So I hope I answered that question pretty well. Boy, you guys took this in a direction I did not expect. Now we're talking about heat treating, which I'm happy to talk about. So the nice thing about the Hotshot 360, which also is even nicer in the new American rotary ovens, the coil phase to phase, the coil faces phase to phase at 220 instead of phase to neutral. So, yep, okay, so Almost Machining says, yeah, you're going to have to change your relay. I'm not so sure. Fad Radcater is wondering what the huge paint booth that Bar Z is building is for. So that's what his business is. Bar Z Industrial, that's Stan's business, and that's what they do. They build those things for industry over and over again. Yeah. So I would strongly recommend getting in touch with Stan if you're interested in an oven. So the oven he designed, which he sold the design to American Rotary, and now they're making them, has a Novus controller in it. And you can program that controller from a USB cable going to your computer, and it's really nice. So my Hotshot is programmed with a profile for heat treating A2. And when I went to heat treat yesterday, I literally turned the oven on and said go. I didn't have to think about temperatures or times or anything. And perfect results. Flood City Tooling says, getting an oven is my next step. I have been building up my grinding equipment, but without an oven, it seems pointless. Hang in there, Flood City. It's not pointless. You can do this. Get yourself an oven. Get yourself one of Stan's ovens via American Rotary. Highly recommended. Yeah, you can go the cheap way with these and get a kiln. The thing with kilns is they might not have the same control. But if you have a modern controller and good thermocouples, it'll do a good job. Excellent point. I really like the Hotshot. I can't overemphasize how nice it is to get one more thing out of the brain. You know it's going to work. You pouch up your looks like something exploded out of here. You pouch up your parts, you throw it in the oven, and you go. You might have to build a cooling rack. Yeah, Indiana John has good things to say about American Rotary on the rotary side. Yeah, they seem like real nice people, and that's why I was super happy for Stan when he made the deal with them, because that was the right thing. Chris, the Pragmatic Machinist, reminds us that PID controllers are cheap and can be added to anything, like a $2 thrift shop toaster oven. That's true. Yep, check in with Stan at Bar Z Industrial. My oven says barzindustrial.com is his website, and he probably will take your order for the ovens there, or he'll redirect you to a site. I don't know. I haven't been there. I should call Stan and see how he's doing. He's a super good guy. Okay, it's 1347 on the East Coast. We have another question. This is a very good question. Everybody pay attention. Fad Radcater says, would superglue work on parts, for example, stainless steel, on the grinder? Fad Radcater, to that I answer, yes, absolutely. Superglue is an awesome tool. You have to be very careful though, okay? If that thing lets go, it's going to let go. So you have to go really easy. Make sure you you're doing a good super glue connection, right? Make sure everything's clean, and make sure you have a way to dissolve the adhesive. So you want acetone on hand for that. I would have no problem taking some difficult little part and super gluing it to a block and putting that on the grinder. I think it's an awesome idea. Go slow. Tenths, like 1/10. And Almost Machining says I'm right, which is a first, because around here I don't get that a lot. What about for titanium? Sure. I think that was, what about super glue for titanium? I have not ground titanium. It's on my list. Okay, that was an excellent question. I just used super glue recently. I'm trying to remember what I was fixturing, but I did the same thing. I used super glue, and it's awesome. So I've done very, 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 very thin aluminum. Too many varies. I've done like 0.25 or 0.30 aluminum. No, it had to be thinner than that. It was like 0.25. Super glued to another piece of aluminum that was thicker, and then machined the pair. And the trick there is you use the super thin super glue, you know, the watery stuff, the original stuff. And you make the sandwich of the thin and the thick. You go do your machining, and then you turn it around, and I use the torch and I hit the thick part, the part you don't care about, and you heat that up, and your thin part will detach at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Indiana John says to beware of the flammability of titanium swarf. This is true. So getting back to the super glue project, when you hit 400 degrees, it will release, okay? And then you can take your work and your base plate and throw it in a bowl with some acetone and let them clean up. However, you have to be very careful about the fumes that comes off when you do hit 400 degrees and the cyanoacrylate adhesive breaks down, okay? So do this in a well-ventilated area. That's all I'm going to say about that. The alternative to doing the torch release for the super glue trick is to just throw it in a bowl of acetone and go have lunch. It'll take longer, but that works, and it's just acetone, and you already know how to handle acetone. Fat Radcator looked into ABS hub 180 diamond 6-inch wheel for grinder, modified to mount on grinder. Yes, no, maybe. ABS, like a plastic hubbed 180 grit 6-inch diamond wheel. Please confirm, because if it's, you don't have to do that. I don't know why ABS. That sounds wrong. You're not going to catch me putting a plastic wheel on my grinder. So let's drop the word ABS. No, I think he means the plastic, which I can't name the chemical name because that's why they call it ABS. Okay, so the more general question is, can you modify a wheel to go on the grinder? Yes, I modified a CBN wheel to go on the grinder. Flood City, stand by. I modified a CBN wheel to go on the grinder, and that CBN wheel was designed for hand sharpening knife blades, like for woodworking equipment. And I have it here. I could show it to you. And I bored out the center of the wheel, and then I used a regular hub with it. So yeah, you could modify wheels, but Yeah, the ABS thing doesn't sound right. So I'm going to say no on that. Okay, let's see. May seem like Flood City Cooling says, may seem like a basic question, but when grinding something like transfer blocks, would you use a normal wheel? So transfer blocks contain soft materials. Could be aluminum, it could be brass, okay? And of course the steel is probably going to be soft steel. So it's a soft material. So it depends on your definition of a normal wheel. For transfer blocks, I would use a plain old white wheel, 46 grit, 46i white wheel, 30, hang on, it's coming to me, 38A 46i is fine. So that's a pretty normal wheel in my book. So the answer is yes. But a very fast dress on the wheel so that it leaves it's a coarse dress, fast dress, use the whatever word you want, and as much coolant as you've got. And if you don't have any coolant, you put Crisco on it. This is just like you would grind a chuck. So the real thing is do it like you would grind a chuck. So normal wheel, sure. Lots of coolant, coarse dress. How's that? Yeah. And I do it, I've done it a lot, and they come out magnificent. All right, we got 6 minutes left before I'm pushing the big red button. Any other questions today? This was fun. I didn't expect to go up to see the microscope. And I'm sure this video will come out strange because we had that failure in the beginning, which kind of bums me out. Here's a question if it just came in. Oh, I love this question. Why did you wait until the end to ask this question? Fat Radcater says, if you're dressing a wheel, why balance it? Strap in, guys. Balancing and truing, which by the way is not dressing, have nothing to do with each other. Nothing. So, no, I'm answering it this time, brother. We're all in. We may go over, but we're answering this question. So first, let's get something out of the way. When you take your diamond and you run it across the wheel, you're doing it for two reasons. One is truing, and the other is dressing. Just separate those in your mind. Truing means I'm going to make the wheel shape coaxial with the spindle axis. Let me say that again. Truing is making the wheel coaxial with the axis of the spindle. That's what truing is. Okay? Dressing is doing something to the surface of the wheel that might be a texture thing or something. That's dressing. They're different. Semantics, but let's be accurate, okay? We're working to tenths. We might as well try to speak to tenths. Balancing is putting the center of mass of the wheel at the center of the wheel that corresponds with the axis of the spindle. So one has to do with shape, one has to do with mass. So let's do a thought experiment, okay? Let's imagine we have a wheel that's made of aluminum on one side and lead on the other side. Half and half. It's a wheel. I could put that wheel on my grinder and I can shrew it to be a perfect circle. Is that wheel balanced? It is not balanced, okay? So what, you say? It's now perfectly round. I don't care if it's balanced. everything is pasta, okay? Robin Renzetti says everything is rubber. I say everything is pasta for other reasons. So when your imbalanced but perfectly trued wheel is spinning, your spindle is bending, okay? In fact, I believe it's bending 90 degrees out from where the imbalance is because gyroscopes. But we don't care about that. So now you have a bent, you have a, I don't know if you've ever had an imbalance in your washing machine when you're doing the wash, but it's not good. Do you, Almost Machining says, do you true and then balance? I'm going to cover that right now, okay? So these are two different effects, and they interact with each other. Because if you have an out of balance wheel and you go to true it, you're truing it for the bend in the spindle. There's no good way to do this. And hey, Marv Grow, welcome aboard, man. You showed up right in the middle of a rant. There are two different processes. So what I do, and there's a million ways to do this, is I balance. If a wheel is coming out of the drawer, I balance. Like I just put the 5SG wheel on here this morning so I can play with my blocks. I took my diamond wheel off. So my rule is, if the spindle is empty and I'm about to put a wheel on that spindle, that wheel gets balanced. Full stop. Okay? With my balancing rings, it's really easy to rebalance a wheel in a couple minutes and it goes on the machine. This is not painful. This is easy, okay? So I balance. Then I put it on the machine. Then I true it. You see my thumb? I true it on the bottom of the wheel, and I true it on the sides of the wheel. This is very important. So now, you've removed mass from the wheel. What have you just done? You imbalanced the wheel. So now it comes back off the spindle, goes back on the truing stand, it gets rebalanced, it goes back on the machine, and now it gets trued again. That's for the first time I put a wheel on the machine. Every time after that, I love the block button. The block button is so useful. So every time after that, when I take that wheel out, I balance it, put it on the machine, true it, and run it. Okay? But for the first time, it is really worth doing 2 cycles of that for the first time you mount the wheel and go to use it. So, Fat Radcater, I ask you this question in return. Have I answered your question? Indiana John says, if your balancing ring isn't enough to balance a wheel, does that mean the wheel is no good? Yes! Boy, howdy. So, as far as balance is concerned, and truing is concerned, I have to admit, that 5SG wheel that I put on that I've been raving about, that I'm really happy with, really was out of balance and needed a lot of balancing and a lot of truing. Seriously. So be prepared. You know, you could put a super high quality wheel on a hub and put it on the machine. It is not ready to work. It is a lump of clay, and you have to get it ready to work. So, are we balancing a 6-inch wheel? Dude, I'm balancing everything. Here's the problem, okay? There's a pervasive fallacy in the industry that you don't have to balance 7-inch wheels on small grinders. we never balance those things. I've heard this so many times. Oh, you're ordering a 12-inch 5SG. Go, man, go. I'm really happy with it. I got my brand new 8-inch ones last week. I haven't mounted them yet. So you can take a wheel, never balance it, true it and grind with it. And when you're done, you pull your work off and you say, look, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. I just made a perfect grind. Do you know why he made a perfect grind? Because he doesn't have a pair of these. So if you pick up your PFG Stones and you go to your perfect grind that you never balanced for, and you do that, you will now see all of your wheel hop. I have seen this so many times. It is crazy. So if you own a set of PFG Stones, you can see past the very pretty brushed finish. And yeah, it's not a sales pitch. Well, it is a sales pitch. It's the truth. It's the truth. Do you remove hubs or keep them on wheels? I keep the hubs on the wheels. It's married to the wheel until that wheel is done. And that makes your life a lot easier. Mr. Najafi says, we want to grind WC. Is there any chance that alumina wheel will do the job, or should we use CBM or diamond? You have to help me with WC. Water cooled? Is that like W1 steel? Somebody help me with what does WC C mean? Oh, you're welcome, Flood City. We're over time, but that was worth it. If we could answer the question, what is WC? I could answer this question. I believe WC is, yeah. Ain't it the truth? Oh, thank you, Marv Grow. Tungsten carbide. No, you're going to go, for tungsten carbide, you're going to definitely go CBN or diamond. You're not going to use alumina. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I should have just looked at the chemical formula. You bozo. No, a CBN or diamond. No alumina. I hope we got that one answered quick. Okay. Hey guys, we're over time, so I don't want to overstay my welcome. Marv Grow, thank you for showing up. If you show up next week, can I have you as a guest on the live? 18 Zulu on Sunday. Let me know. We'd love to have you. For those of you who don't know, Marv Grow is with Kern, and he is their in-house nerd, and he's a great guy. Okay, that's a deal. If you're sober, by the way, we don't judge. So if you're not sober, Marv, we'll take you anyway. Either way, Sunday, 18 Zulu, be here. I'll bring you in as a guest after some initial ranting. That'll be a lot of fun. Okay, awesome. Have fun, guys. I'm going to wrap this up. We'll see you next Sunday. I see no reason that I won't be here. And maybe if we could twist his arm, Marv Grow will join us. And we'll hear some of his wisdom, of which there is much. So, happy Sunday. Go do something cool in the shop. Have some fun. Be safe. Take care of your family. Get your vaccination. And we'll see you real soon.